Good morning, good day to everyone. I will address you in English as I know we have a lot of international speakers, a lot of colleagues from around the world. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zoe Konstantopoulou. I am a lawyer, member of the Athens Bar, member also of the New York Bar. I'm currently the only woman head of a political party in the Greek parliament. I'm the head of plefsi, eleftherias, Course to Freedom, a movement, I would say, dedicated to democracy, justice, transparency, human rights, and the abolition of the illegal debt and the claiming of the German reparations to Greece for the Nazi crimes. I'm specialized in international criminal law and human rights. As a student, I followed the works of the preparatory committee of the United Nations on the forming of an international criminal court. And I was there back in 1998 as a student, member of the coalition of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, for the creation of an international criminal court, the Rome Statute, adopted on the 17th of July, 1998. Back then, nobody believed that this statute would be adopted, would be ratified by 60 countries. Nobody believed there would be an independent body because up to that date, we only had the ad hoc tribunals, the ICTY, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, and the ICTR, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, both dependent on the Security Council. I basically invited myself to this conference. I had followed closely. I learned about this conference last year from a poster on the street, and I wanted to wholeheartedly salute your works, your initiatives, and to wholeheartedly tell you that I'm one of you. I'm here for you. I'm a lawyer. I'm a defense lawyer. I know what it means to defend those who are targeted by different kinds of powers. I know what it means to be targeted yourself because you defend those who need defense. And I cherish the memory of Ebru Timti, this woman colleague who defended and struggled and refused to bend and paid with her life, but never gave up and never gave up hope. I believe it is our duty to continue the legacy of those defenders who stand up for human rights. I believe it is our duty to spread the word of what it means to be defenseless, to spread the word of how important it is to have independent, non-dependent, decided and non-bending defenders around the world for the people. And this is why I think that creating a People's Law Bureau as an international network and organization of lawyers, of defense lawyers around the world against the practices of international crimes, against the practices of imperialism, of colonialism, against the practices of those powers who basically deny not only human rights, but also human dignity, is of vital importance. You know, today is the anniversary, the 6th of April, is the anniversary of the invasion of the Nazi troops in Greece back in 1941. And whenever we talk about international law and international criminal law, we have to remind ourselves that up until the Second World War and up until the Nuremberg trials right after, criminal responsibility, individual criminal responsibility for international crimes had not been established. But ever since the Second World War and ever since the aftermath of the Second World War, it is a decision of humanity and of the international society that we will never again tolerate war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, aggression. However, here we are in 2025, still having to talk about the genocide perpetrated against the Palestinian people by the state of Israel. Here we are having to remind ourselves, and I listened to my good colleague Kostas Papadakis, a very, very active defense lawyer and a lawyer for human rights. We have collaborated in several occasions, not only before courts, but also for causes that are dear to us. It is a fact that we're here in 2025 having to say that governments around the so-called civilized world, governments around the so-called Western world, refuse to condemn genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity perpetrated by their ally state, the Israeli state, and they even refuse to implement the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court. You know, it is important for us lawyers to remind ourselves and also citizens that we chose to be lawyers in order to defend those in need, in order to defend human rights, in order to defend the right to dignity and to prosperity of all people around the world, and these rights are non-negotiable. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, only 1 week ago went to Israel and hugged Netanyahu. He hugged a wanted war criminal, a wanted person by the International Criminal Court for international crimes. And this is not something we should tolerate, and this is something that as head of Course to Freedom I have put forward again and again in the Greek Parliament, where we also invited the Palestinian ambassador to talk about the situation of targeting of children, targeting of innocent lives, and the targeting of hospitals, the targeting of UN workers, the targeting of people who aid those wounded and those in need. All these are international crimes. And when we talk about Palestine, when we talk about the crimes of the state of Israel, the crimes of the government of Israel, we should not forget that the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has publicly said that he has received threats and that he received threats before issuing the arrest warrants. You know, I firmly believe that at the end, justice will prevail. I believe this, and I believe we have a very, very long way to go until then. But we are armed with persistence. We are armed with our belief in justice in order to go on. When I began my career as a lawyer back in 2003, one of my first legal actions was a criminal complaint against Henry Kissinger for war crimes and crimes against humanity perpetrated in Greece and in Cyprus during the dictatorship. And another of my first legal actions was actually a legal action by this bar, the Athens Bar Association. In July 2003, I was then only 26 years old. I was called upon by the then president of the Athens Bar in order to prepare a criminal complaint for war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide in Iraq by Bush and Blair. This was a criminal complaint deposited in July 2003. There was a response back in 2006 saying there are war crimes in Iraq, but we don't deem it necessary to deal with these crimes at this point. And of course, you know very well that Tony Blair, a lot of years later, had to admit that he had been implicated in illegal activity in Iraq. Our country, Greece, has been targeted by another type of international criminality. The memoranda policies, the policies imposed upon Greece in order to repay a so-called public debt are colonialist policies through which the population was denied access to the most precious rights and the most precious goods. The people were asked to submit themselves to inhumane policies, to accept the privatization, which was really a giveaway of all public infrastructures, including the railway system. The people were asked basically to live upon nothing in order for a so-called debt to be repaid. As president of the parliament back in 2015, I was president of the Greek parliament for 8 months. I instituted a parliamentary committee to audit the public debt and also investigate on the violations of human rights, international law, international humanitarian law in the case of policies imposed upon the Greek people. And the findings of this committee, the Truth Committee on Public Debt, are very, very interesting for our work as defense lawyers, as defenders. We are at a point in history where we are defined by what we do, and we are defined by how we react. At this point, a genocide is being perpetrated right before our eyes, and the Palestinians are documenting their own genocide. And we have to do, as lawyers, everything that we can in order to stop this genocide and every genocide and every international crime. I'm very, very offended by the fact that no Western leader has said anything about Elon Musk's Nazi salutes right at the inauguration of the US president. And I'm very offended that no Western leader has said anything about the atrocious statements of Donald Trump, basically promising the perpetration of new international crimes. When a president of a state says that we will make of Gaza a holiday spot and we will get rid of its inhabitants, when a president of the state circulates videos called Trump Gaza, depicting Gaza without its citizens, without its inhabitants, these are very, very serious international criminal behaviors against which the international community should react. Let me once again thank you for this conference. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interact with you. And let me also tell you that you can count on me for our common struggle and in order to diffuse at every level our message. I wish us all a good struggle and a victory that will come. Thank you.